Hello everyone and welcome to Programming and Access 2013, the Advanced course. My name is Steve Bishop, and in today's video we're going to be talking about adding charts and graphs to your reports. Now, adding charts and graphs to your reports can help give a visual representation of the data to your users. And this is especially helpful for people who are more of the decision makers, right, within the company. They tend to kind of get that glossed over eyed look when they receive a report that's nothing but numbers and letters, right? It's just one big long report full of a bunch of information. And what ends up happening, of course, is that they pull you into a meeting and say, what does this report mean, right? Because they don't quite grasp what all the numbers mean to them. So a chart or a graph can really help give a visceral feel to the report, kind of give you a good visual representation of what does that data really mean? What are the strengths or the weaknesses within the company can be shown very well with a chart, okay, or with a graph. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you as an example today, we're going to do a pie chart for each customer on a report. And inside of that pie chart is going to be the quantity of each product sold to that customer. And so what we're going to do is first we need to collect that data, right? We need to go out and get and collect what is the information that we need to put into that pie chart. So we're going to start off with a query. We're going to go to Create tab, Query Design. And in order to get those three different key data points, again, we're getting the customers, we're getting products, and we're getting the quantity of each product, right? Because that's what the criteria was for this report. In order to get those three data points, we need to get the customers table, we need to bring in the order details table, the orders table, and the products table. And I'll show you why we need all four of these here in just a second. So I'm just go ahead and click Add. I'll just drop this down here and do a little bit of arranging here so you can see. Now the orders table in the Northwind database is what we often refer to as the order header, okay, is a header table. And then the details, the order details is often what we call a details table. And what that basically means is the orders table here just contains the overall information related to that order. So you've got the employee that's putting the order together, you've got the customer that the order is for, the order date, the ship date, where is it being shipped to, etc., etc. So it's an overall information about the order. But the order details table is where you actually have each individual line item of the product purchased and how much. So you've got the product, you've got the quantity, how much did each quantity cost, any discounts, when was it allocated, etc., etc. Now you'll notice though that on the orders table here, we don't have the customer name. Instead, we have a foreign key value that points back to the customer's table. So let's go ahead and interjoin the customer ID field to the ID field of our customers table. And then additionally, we have the same situation over here. On the order details table, we only have a product ID. We don't have the name of the product. So we need to go ahead and do an interjoin of the product ID to the ID field on our products table. And now we have appropriate joining of all of the different tables together inside of our query. So let's go ahead and now add our three different data points. We wanted the company name, we wanted the product name, and we wanted the quantity of that was sold, right? Now there's a bit of a problem here. The order details table has a different row for each time that there was an order. So we're not really getting a good sum of the total number of products sold to that particular company, right? It's not an aggregate, in other words. So in order to make this query an aggregate, so we can get a summation of all of the quantity of that product that was sold to the company, we need to go ahead and go up to this totals button here and click on it so that we can change this to an aggregate query. Now we do want to go ahead and group our aggregate query according to the company and by product name, but we want to change this quantity to a summation. So we're going to change that to sum. So we're getting a sum total quantity of each product sold to each company. and that's going to give us our 3 data points in the way that we want it. There are a couple of things about this query that I do want to fix up though, because if you look here, we've got this Northwind Traders thing in here in front of our as part of our product name for each one of our products, and that's kind of annoying. Okay, we don't really need to know this Northwind Traders. We just need to know almonds, beer, rosenberry spread, boysenberry spread, etc. That's all that we really need for our product information. And then additionally, if you look at the quantities of each one sold, you'll see that there's a couple of entries in here where there's 0 sold. So we don't really need company C's entry of gnocchi where there's 0 quantity. So we need to exclude that out in our query. So I'm going to go back into the design view. Let's change these 2 things up. First, for the product name, I'm going to change this column to just product. And I'm going to do a replace function on the product name field, and we're going to replace anywhere where you see Northwind Traders with an extra space at the end there. We're going to replace that with an empty string, and that's going to be our replace function. And for our quantity, I'm going to say the quantity has to be greater than 0. And let's go ahead and view the data now. And sure enough, there we go. So there's each product sold to each company and the amount sold. Okay, and that looks pretty good. I don't see any 0s for the quantity. Our product, prod cut, maybe I need to fix that, huh? I bet some of you guys watching already caught that. Said, Steve, gosh, you got to fix that. You can't spell product. There we go. Okay, so I think this query looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and save the query. We're going to call it QRY for query. Customer products quantity. Okay. Let's go ahead and save that and close that. So we've got our query now that has the data that we need for our pie chart. Now we need to go ahead and create our report that the pie charts are going to go in. So let's do report design. And let's just kind of adjust the real estate here a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and add a title to our report. Let's do products sold per customer. And I'm just going to kind of change a few things here. Let's go to oops, format tab. There we go. Use just Berlin Sans, make it black and bold, and change it to size 20. And let's resize that so it looks right. Okay, and let's change the page header color. You don't have to do this. I'm just doing it just to make it look better, I think. Let's change that to green. And okay, so a few things that we need to think about here when we're designing our report. The details section, we want a new details section for each customer, because if you recall, the way that we talked about how we want this report to display is we want a new pie chart for each customer, right? So we want a pie chart that displays the quantity of each product sold to those customers. So we need to separate out this report to show each individual customer their own pie chart. The way you do that is you need to go ahead and set some sort of record source here on your report that's going to give us a new detail section for each customer. And the way you do that is you're going to go to the record source section, and I'm just going to go ahead and click on the ellipsis here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab that query that we just built, because it's going to show me only the company names that have some sort of product sold, have some sort of quantity. Remember, we had where the quantity had to be greater than 0. So these are the only companies that I'm really interested in for this report. But there is also an additional problem if you think about this. The query customer products quantity query that we built has a new record for each product, right? So there is a record for each product. So you may have the company listed multiple times. So what we need to do is we need to additionally make this an aggregate. So I'm just going to click on the totals here, and we're going to group by company. If I took this off, just to show you, if I just ran this, you'll see company A shows up multiple times. That's because we have different products for company A that have been sold. So I'm doing a group by on that just so that we get each individual company name. You could do a select distinct if you wanted to. For those of you guys who are SQL query savvy, know what distinct means, but doing a group by is just as good. So let's go ahead and save this and close it. And now I'm going to go ahead and add a text box with the company name in it to our details section, so that each time that this details section comes up, we can see what the company name is. So company name is the label, and I'm going to make this nice and wide here, and we need to bind this, the control source for our text box, to company, and we also need to change this to txt company, because we need to change this this field here, this text box. It just makes things a little bit easier. Okay, so we've got our company name in there. Let me go ahead and bring this up a little bit. So I just want to show you, if we do a print preview here, you could see company A, company AA, company BB, C, D, DD, etc., etc. So they each have their own detail section that comes up. And we're going to put a pie chart underneath each one of those things. One other thing I just like to do with my reports, just because sometimes they look ugly, I'm going to change this this company text box. I'm going to change the format to get rid of the background, make it transparent. Same with the border. So now it looks a little bit better, right? So now we don't have that big old square around the company name. And then one other thing I'm going to change is I'm going to get rid of the alternate background color so that it's all one solid color here. Okay, so that looks pretty good there. So we've done all of this setup work just to add this chart, and now what is it, 10 minutes into here, we're going to actually do the adding of the chart. So we'll go ahead and go to the design tab here, and if you go down one, you're going to see this 3-bar chart right here. Go ahead and click on that. And I'm not going to drag and drop or do any sort of drawing of the size that I want this. I'm just going to click once inside the detail section to drop in that object. Now we're going to go ahead and get this chart wizard, and typically I avoid wizards of all sorts, but really when it comes to putting charts and graphs in here, this is really the best way to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and select, it's asking me what I want to use for the data. Do I want a table or a query, or I could even use both, at least to fill in this particular section here. I'm going to go ahead and select the queries and go look for that query that we just built. There it is right there, and click on next. Now, this can seem a little bit tricky, but we need all 3 of these fields. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on this double arrow. That's going to add all of the fields that are in this available fields over here to the fields for the chart. Now, the reason I say this can seem a little tricky is some of you may be thinking, well, my pie chart only needs to have the product and the quantity of each product in it, because really a pie chart only shows 2 things, right? It can only have 2 points of data on it. It can only have, you know, what is each section of the pie going to be split up by, which would be it's going to be split up by the product, and the amount that's going to be shown for each section of pie, right? So that's going to be the quantity. So why do we need the company field, right? Because our pie chart's only going to show these 2 things, product and quantity. Why do we need the company field additionally as part of our pie chart? Well, the reason is because in order to have the report filter the pie chart by each company, so that each new detail section that shows each individual company, you have to have some sort of data point within the pie chart object that you can associate back to the report. And since we're filtering, we've got this parent-child relationship between the company name up here in the report. We also need to have a child field of company in the pie chart, in the data for that fills in the pie chart, so that we can say, hey, when you're filling in the details section of the report according to this company, additionally filter out the pie chart data by company. So we need to add this company field as a field on our pie chart, even though it's not actually going to be displayed on the pie chart. Okay, so click on the next button here, and now I have the option to select any number of these different types of charts or graphs. So you've got you've got your 3D columns, you got your regular columns, you've got cylinder columns, you've got 3D cylinder, you got cone columns. There's a lot of different options here. I think there's 20 here. I'm going to go ahead and select the pie chart, just a two-dimensional pie chart here, but you could select any number of one of these here. But it really does take some time to figure out what's the best chart for the report you're running. And really, it's a good idea to kind of run through different tests in order to find out which chart really fits your data the best. So I've already done that, and that's why I've gone with pie chart here as a two-dimensional object. I'm going to go ahead and click on Next here. And you'll see that now the chart wizard is going to ask me, what are my two different data points to fill in this two-dimensional pie chart? And it automatically associated company with the quantity, right? So we've got the company and quantity on here, but this isn't really what we wanted. Remember, we want the pie chart to show each individual section is divided by the product, along with the amount filled for each one of these is going to be the quantity. So the way you can change this is I'm just going to go ahead and click and drag that company section there back to where we have our different data points over here on the right. And you can see that changes this to say series. I'm going to do the same thing with the sum of quantity and drop that back in over here. Now you can see we have series and we have data. Well, the series is where you're actually stating what the different sections of your pie is going to be. And we're separating our pie according to the product. And then the amount that each section is going to be filled in by the quantity. So I'm going to drop that in here. And you can see Access just goes ahead and does a summation of whatever the value is that I drop in here. But it's really just doing a sum of a sum. So it doesn't really make much of a difference, but that's okay. So we've got our two different data points entered in here for our pie chart. And we can click on this preview chart button here. And you have to understand this is not yet filtering out according to any particular company, right? It's just doing all of the products and the quantities. And you can see there's a lot of beer that's sold here. And I don't know what this blue thing is, but there's a lot of beer that's being sold by Northwind traders. Okay, so that's just kind of a preview of what the chart looks like. But again, it's not being filtered yet by the company name. Let's go ahead and close that. Click on Next. And now here is where you set up your parent-child relationship between the pie chart that goes here and the company name or the details section of your report. And Access already kind of figured out, hey, you've got a report field here called company. We also noticed on your chart field, you've got a company field. On your chart fields, you've got a company field. So are these two things associated? And that's correct, right? That's obviously what we wanted. So here it's already setting up our parent-child relationship. Now let me just tell you, this particular window that you see here where we're setting up the parent-child relationship, this would not appear if I did not already have some bound fields on my report, if I did not already have some sort of data here on my report and some bound fields. So it's important that you set that up first on your report before you go through this wizard so that you get this parent-child relationship that shows up here while you're going through the wizard. Okay, so our parent-child relationship looks correct. I'm going to go ahead and click on Next. And now it's saying, what title would you like for your chart? So this title is actually going to show up here at the top of the chart, and it's going to be centered, so center top. And I do want to go ahead and have a title here, so let's go ahead and do products sold. And I also do want to display a legend, which is, for those of you who don't know what a legend is, it's that little box or the little thing that tells you what the different colors mean. So when we pulled up the example, it had the different colors of the pie, and then off to the right it had some sort of indication of what each different color meant. That's what the legend is. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, I do want to display a legend with my chart. Go ahead and click on Finish. And there we have kind of it's not a very accurate. Obviously, we don't have east, west, and north. That's not what our chart actually shows. But it does have the right title. Okay, so that's correct. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here. And okay, so I think that looks pretty good as far as size-wise for our report. Let's go ahead and take a quick peek at it in the print preview section. Okay, so company A has products sold, it looks like chai and coffee. Crab meat, looks like they sold mostly crab meat, so that looks good. And if you scroll down here, so company A looks like they bought mostly beer. The majority of products that company BB bought was coffee. And that's the end of page 1. So then we have page 2, we have page 3, page 4, etc. So you can see this is a very good report. This really tells you, according to each company, what is the majority of the products sold. So there you go. If you guys have any questions about how to do this, if you have any questions about this video in particular, or if you're working on your own thing and you just kind of want a quick little piece of advice, feel free to drop me a comment in the comment section of this video, and I'll be happy to do whatever I can to answer any questions. And again, if you guys have any knowledge about these things, please feel free to share it with the rest of the community. It can be very helpful to have other people chime in and answer people's questions so that I'm not the only one trying to help out. Okay, well, if you have, like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop in something in the comments section. And as always, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Just to let you guys know, the next video will be doing charts. We're going to do another pie chart, but we're going to do it on a form.